our UU-UNO poet, returning to us for the 4th time.
The clouds you've actually seen something. You might change your mind. Alright. This poem was actually written more about, it started out as a poem about machismo and somehow found its way to war. Funny how that happens. Why is it we insist on splitting this world between masculinity and femininity? As if these two concepts could only rest on the opposite ends of polarity. You see, this either or doesn't work anymore, because it's the combination of both that creates our core, making boys into men and men into kings and kings into compassionate, peaceful human beings. See, I define my masculinity by creating my own rules with my own tools, using schools of thought that were brought to me by men and women who are too strong to believe that the strength to succeed can only come through muscle. And yes, I will tussle with you if I have to, but first I'll ask you if you really think we ought to, because if I fought you, I'd use my mind to intellectually grind you into steak. But if you step back and take some time, I think you'll find I'd much rather be kind to you, because unlike our current commander-in-chief, it is my belief that simply possessing superior firepower does not give us the right to use it. And so I prefer not to abuse you with it. Instead, I'd like to invite you inside my head so that we can exchange our views openly, so that you can express exactly what you need from me, so that I can try to feed your needs if I can. It's a rather simple plan. It involves communication, not domination. Collaboration, not annihilation. But most importantly, replace this constant threat of aggression with my ever-developing, worldwide enveloping weapons of mass compassion. See, that's my plan of action, because we seem to be trained by this voice in our brain that says the only way to work is by winning some game. And this imaginary game can only be won when the other side is conquered and there remains only one. Well, that's bunk. That's for weak-minded punks who think that victory comes when the other side is sunk. Well, I'll tell you, any wuss can knock a man down, but it takes great strength to lift a man off the ground. So if you want to impress me, find the courage to be kind, because that, to me, is my masculinity redefined. Can you hear me in the back all right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, cool. I wrote this poem in 2003 thinking it would be a temporary poem, that it would become irrelevant shortly. It didn't. It's for a young man named Saeed, who I've never met. I just had a pin that said Saeed, 3 years old, in Iraq. And so hopefully he's, what, 8 now? He stands on a rock and looks over the ocean and says, "Mom, I can see the whole world from here." And he jumps up and down with these wild, crazy motions, and I think to myself, I'm so glad to be here. Because I'm watching this kid with these bright, sparkly eyes, and he's free to believe he can capture the skies, because as far as he knows, the whole world is this way, and everything's okay, and hey, kids get to play, right? See, I'm a camp counselor because kids are my soul. And they make me believe I'm part of this whole web of life things. That's my thing. And I have this personal goal to touch as many young hands as I can before I go. I'm also sort of a pacifist in nature. I don't generally raise my hands in anger, but there's really one thing that will drive me insane, and that's people behaving in ways that will endanger my kids. Don't mess with my kids. And when I say my kids, I mean all kids. Not just the ones I've met, or even the ones that haven't come into my life yet, but I even mean the kids that I will never even see, because maybe they live across the seas in places like, oh, say, the Middle East. See, those are my kids too, and I'm listening to Bush and crew talk all about precautions they take and the things that they do to ensure that civilian life will be respected and families will be protected, and only a few innocent deaths are to be expected, just a few minimal losses. Minimal losses. And I think to myself, what the hell does that mean? Because as far as I'm concerned, there ain't no such damn thing. Have you ever looked in the eyes of one child and seen a light turn on that hadn't been there for a while, because they suddenly discovered something inside themselves so incredible that their soul set on fire? And they felt freaking invincible. Or have you ever struggled with that one kid who was such a royal pain in the ass because he was hurting so bad, because he had a real shit for a dad, and he'd rather have people think he was mad than sad, but what he really needed was for one person, just one person, to stand right there and say, look, you're not just a punk, I do give a shit about you, and I am never going anywhere. Have you ever seen the look of a mom whose child has been gone just a little bit too long, and she's trying to decide if it's too early to freak out because she knows everything's probably just fine, but still there's that little bit of doubt, and that little shred of doubt that maybe, just maybe, her baby might not be okay is enough to instill more fear in her heart than I could ever possibly imagine, because the loss of that one child would destroy her entire universe. There's no such thing as minimal losses, because every single child has something incredible inside them, and every single child needs someone to say, I'm not going anywhere, and every single child is the entire universe to somebody. I don't know much about weapons or bombs. I don't know foreign policy or these so-called plans of Saddam. All I know is one thing. I've got this kid on a rock. I've got this kid in a rock. And when one of them reaches to touch the skies, the other one dies. There has got to be a better way, because we are hurting my kids, and that is not okay. Thank you very much, everyone.